Well, hello there and welcome to the programme. How are you? It is Friday the 30th. Hayden Hewitt was getting on to me about THs earlier on. We'll talk about that a bit later on. Difficult for Irishman. The 30th. In fact, it isn't. Yesterday was the 30th, wasn't it? Today is the 1st of July. Jesus, after all that. Today is the 1st of July. Welcome to the show. Great to be with you. Yeah, so it's the week ending Friday, the 1st of July. My name is Richie Allen. This programme, of course, is brought to you in association with davidike.com and, of course, beyondvision.tv. Getting the mistakes in early today. Lovely to be with you. Massive week, of course, it's been after the Brexit referendum, in or out referendum, the result of which we got this day last week. Too late for us to do anything with respects to editing audio and grabbing the opinions and all the sound bites. That's why we weren't with you last week, but we are with you today. My friend and colleague Hayden Hewitt will drop in and out whenever he chooses to opine on some of the big stories. Although, to be honest with you, we're going to pretty much focus on nothing other than what's happened since the announcement last week, where 52% of those polled in the in-out referendum decided they wanted Britain to leave. Hooray! And all of that. We're thrilled about it here. So we are. Before we get into it, though, and how it's been reported and what's being said, and we'll bring you right up to speed, at least to this point. As we record this, it's 10:42 a.m. in British summertime, although it's raining cats and dogs outside. There's not much summer. So that's where we are. We always say this because by the time you get this in the mid-afternoon, the roof that they said will come in if we voted to leave might have come in. In which case you won't be watching this. Right, couple of other headlines, Hayden. Today is the 100th anniversary of the beginning of the Battle of the Somme. Sky News and BBC News 24 are all over this. The Queen and all the other reptilians, all the other members of the royal family have been paying tribute to the 120,000 people who clambered over the top and were absolutely butchered. Unbelievable. Anybody who studied history at third level like me, you learn a lot about what happened to these men. What you don't learn about, though, is why it happened to them. And the media in this country is like the media everywhere else. They won't focus on the real reasons we had the so-called Great War. Terrible thing. Some of the pictures that you do get to see when you traverse the libraries of Ireland and England when you're studying history, some of the things you see are absolutely unbelievable, what these men were subjected to. Like I said, the truth about the Great War will never be told. How the same globalists, the financiers behind World War II, planned and executed it. IG Farben, BASF, Hoyks, the massive pharmaceutical and petrochemical companies, and of course the Federal Reserve Cartel. These people who planned, of course, for the domination, for the future hegemony of the corporate world. They were behind World War I. Don't believe what you read in your history books. Take it from me. Do your own homework. So that's big news today. The fallout from the referendum with respects to what's happening in Britain's main political parties. Massive news as well. Hayden's got a Telegraph story on there. Johnson's allies accuse Michael Gove of systematic and calculated plot to destroy his leadership hopes. The story goes, Johnson is considering whether to support Theresa May, who's the Home Secretary, after he was forced to withdraw from the contest. Friends of the former mayor said there was a very deep pit reserved in hell for Mr. Gove. I wonder how they know that. They alleged that the Justice Secretary had been plotting to stand as a candidate for a long time. George Osborne was named as a co-conspirator. That's Gideon, cocaine-addicted George Osborne himself. Prostitute using George Osborne as well. Never miss an opportunity to tell you who these people really are. And of course Jeremy Corbyn is in all sorts of trouble as well in the Labour Party, as more than 150 of his own MPs have said they don't want to have anything to do with him anymore. And another story on that, by the way, Kenneth Clarke has just come out to say Michael Gove should quit. Well, he only announced his intention to run yesterday, Ken. He's hardly going to say today, I'll quit because Ken Clarke told me to quit. But he's been advised to quit because nobody will trust him because of his treachery. Here's a story that I think you'll find very interesting. I know I will. Hayden and myself have differing opinions on this, which is good. No harm in that. But I'm just going to focus today on the fact that there's never been a health impact study done either here or anywhere else in the world on Wi-Fi. So British Gas is to offer free electricity for 8 hours at weekends to 2 million customers who have smart meters installed. So this is a special offer. Get your smart meter installed. We'll give you free electricity. Customers will be able to choose whether to take advantage of the deal between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. on a Saturday or a Sunday. British Gas said consumers should see savings of about £60 a year. Experts said it will not necessarily be the cheapest deal on the market. Most of British Gas's 11 million customers will not be eligible immediately, as only 2.4 million people have smart meters, or 2.4 million customers of British Gas have smart meters. Why have we banged on about Wi-Fi in the independent media? Why have we banged on about it on the Richie Allen radio show? Why does David Icke and the good people at davidicke.com bang on about Wi-Fi and the dangers of it? Well, I'm going to read something written by David Icke on his own website on the 2nd of February 2014. The mass rollout of Wi-Fi over the past decade has been phenomenal as to how integrated it has become in all facets of our society and our personal lives. Few have asked the most important of all questions: is it safe? At what level does ever-increasing Wi-Fi become dangerous to human health? Can it or is it affecting our electronic bodies, our well-being and our abilities to think? And to what degree, if any, do invisible radio and microwave frequencies begin to affect our own DNA structures? Over the past few years, and secretly for decades, scientific and medical evidence has shown conclusively that low-frequency pulsed radio and microwave frequencies are causing significant damage to our cells, resulting in extreme increases in autism, heart irregularities, brainwave changes, cancer and generational fertility destruction in males, but even more significantly in females. The most prominent changes due to Wi-Fi radiation, though, is with our children and teenagers due to their developing immune systems and thinner skeletal structures. The Invisible Killing Fields by David Icke, 2014. And there's a lot in The Phantom Self about that, his latest book. And I've interviewed Barry Trower regularly on the Richie Allen radio show, a man who worked for the Royal Navy for years. Doing what? Developing microwave weapons. Credentials impeccable. Okay? Not one of these fringe lunatics that some programs and websites roll out to tell a pack of lies. This guy's the real deal. So the agenda, of course, is to ever surround us with Wi-Fi, in my opinion. We're going to see that. We have a situation here where consumers of gas and electricity in England are being told you're going to have a smart meter, whether you like it or not. Some of those people, of course, will be people like Barry Trower himself, who will not have a Wi-Fi device in his house, won't use a mobile phone. You might think that's a bit extreme. You might be entitled to think that. When they tell you we're going to put a smart meter in your house and you have no choice but to accept it. We'll talk more about that in the coming weeks, I think. We'll leave that there for now. Interesting story. So the referendum then. 52-48 in favour of leaving. I was stunned. I really was. I was convinced they would fix the result of it, or try to... well, we know they tried to affect the result with what happened to Joe Cox. Now, whatever you think about Joe Cox, I think the woman was murdered. I'm certain she was. Who did it or why they did it, we could debate that all day. The fact is it had an effect, because the Remain team, of course, extracted a lot of political capital from it, tried to paint the whole country, or at least those who wanted to vote leave, as a bunch of racists. I thought they'd fix it, but I voted anyway. I said this to you last week, I voted leave. It didn't take long, did it, Hayden, for the calls for a second referendum. The most common reasons were given: that all these 16, 17-year-olds wanted in, but they couldn't vote, Hayden, and their grandparents are a bunch of racists.
It could be argued that the lazy bastards could have got out of bed and voted, to be fair.
Only 30% of them eligible to vote between 18 and 24 went out.
Because they don't care, they're disengaged from politics. How can they be engaged by politics these days?
And they were even given a chance, because we were told that the website crashed. Do you remember that?
They got a few extra days.
They got a couple of extra days. They tried to bust them out. Well, they didn't need to bust them out. They only had to do it on internet.
A couple of things that confuse me about this. Okay, the first one is they say this isn't democracy. This isn't fair. Very much missing the fact that actually, yes, this
We've
is
had
how
a democratic
works.
exercise.
The second point is, why is it? I can guarantee that many of those that didn't bother to vote. And by the way, you're not obligated to vote.
No.
You can still have an opinion, even if you don't vote. People didn't die in wars, so you were forced to vote. They died so you had the freedom to choose what you wanted
That's
to do.
right.
However, if you don't have the time or energy to vote, but you do have the time to go down to London, paint yourself blue and moan about democracy, I'm sorry, you're going to have to take the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, you know? Basically, you're a lazy bastard.
You're a lazy, scruffy bastard.
Yeah, lazy hippies.
Yeah.
Dirty hippies. Hipsters.
Welly wearing, Glastonbury attending.
Yeah.
We're going to descend to that level. I mean, to talk about ageism.
It's scandalous, this whole thing. And now they want the second referendum, which is my favourite thing ever. Well, we didn't like that one. We want another one. Okay, that'll be one all.
Yeah,
what next?
Best out of three.
Penalties. That's what I go down to. Or a tops-off knife fight. Mate. A tops-off knife fight with Cameron and Boris. I think that's the only way to solve this. The whole thing's just a joke, isn't it?
It's a joke, buddy. Let's have a look at this guy, Hayden. They've been saying, have these young folk, that they were lied to. Vote Leave lied. So let's do it all again. Look at this.
About the EU. And quite frankly, the campaign has, you're right, quite frankly, been a disgrace on the Leave side, and people feel that they've been lied to. And when we have 3% determining what the rest of the country should go in the direction-wise, it just feels really unfair. And I think we need to bring people together, and this is really just saying that doesn't reflect us.
There are millions of people who have signed a petition for a rerun, but then
4
obviously
million, yes.
4 million. But there are
the biggest petition we've ever had in this country.
But isn't it time that we accept the result and respect democracy?
Well, I think when you look at the margins and when 3%, a lot of European countries and the EU itself uses qualified majority voting systems, which means when you have such important constitutional issues, it means you cannot trump the minority, and that is a real principle of liberal democracies. And
that guy has nits and cooties. What about all the soft arses with the umbrellas? Hayden just noticed that. All the soft arses. Look, what a load of bollocks, you know. You can't trump liberal democracy, he said. What does that mean? Listen back to that. What does that mean exactly? Margins, he said. 3%. Have a wash, you filthy fucker. And what's worse about that? As Hayden said in the clip there, his opinions are informed exclusively by, what did you say, Hayden? Owen Jones in The Guardian, right?
Yeah, I'm going to give you an opinion that was formed for me by The Guardian newspaper.
Owen Jones.
Incidentally, I found a great place for falafel after we finished it.
Fantastic. What am up with? Tough shit, Paddy. You lost, mate. It's over. Get over it. Selective memories. Selective memories. The lies we were told, they said, by the vote leavers. What about this one? What about this one? Brexit could trigger World War III, warns David Cameron. World War III, huh? Right.
Can I just say, I raised that point on the radio show.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
Someone said, well, it could. I said, well, but we've got this thing called NATO that was supposed to stop that. Well, is that enough? Well, it was after the war, yeah.
Chaos theory, yeah.
That's what we used. The EU... I don't understand the arguments. Human rights, we had them before. We probably would have had them anyway. We're talking 40 years here. Workers' rights, all these things are not guaranteed we wouldn't have had them.
Do you know what makes me sad? A nice gentleman with cerebral palsy got onto the show last week. He was well pissed off and called me a liar and said, you're a terrible liar, and he believes in man-made climate change, which is his right to believe in that. But he said, you're going to condemn me, because he said my rights as a disabled man are guaranteed by the European Union Human Rights Charter chapter, and he said that's all going to go away. And God love him, and I don't mean God love him, I'm not patronising him because he has cerebral palsy, but his speech is affected, so he couldn't come on the show, which is a shame. But I said, there's something wrong with that, isn't there? There's something wrong with democracy in this country if you think you need a city in Belgium and a bunch of unelected people there to guarantee your human rights. I will stand by you, mate, as a human being, that you shouldn't be demonised by the Department of Work and Pensions. We don't need Europe to guarantee your human rights.
And let's be honest,
Jesus, come on.
Nothing's going to change in that respect. I
No.
mean, it's not like all of a sudden, as soon as Article 50 goes in, right, to the Soylent Green factory, lads. Get all the ones in wheelchairs in first.
Yeah.
Save the chairs, we can scrap them for the...
That's right, mate.
No, it's not going to happen.
No, but because they've been so
they're
hammered by
terrified.
Serco and by the Department for Work and Pensions and the abuse that people with disabilities have had to take from those people, they
Europe
believe
haven't
that their
stopped
only
that.
recourse is the Court of Human Rights.
Europe haven't stopped that.
No,
Europe aren't
they have
going
not,
to
mate.
stop
They've
that.
done nothing for it.
And now all that rumours about, well, the rumblings, I should say, about the superstate, we might have dodged a little bit of a bullet.
Absolutely right. Look, we're surrounded by young men and women from Eastern Europe, from parts of Asia and all over the world in this building right here. That doesn't prove I'm not racist. I'm just pointing out we get on well. We work together. Nobody's looking at anybody thinking they shouldn't be here. It's crazy. Of course, some people did vote along the lines of deep-rooted intolerance of other people. We know that. They're called Britain's First and they're called the BNP and the English Defence League. Those people, of course, just hate everybody, you know. They hate themselves as much as anybody else, I would say. They've always been in the minority, though, I think. The rest of us work with, live with, or we live near, we socialise with, and we cooperate with people from all over the world, and we're happy to do it. I was at a concert on Thursday. On Wednesday, I was watching Lionel Richie. It was incredible to look around. Everybody was represented there, having a good time, jumping up and down, having a beer. We get on with one another largely. It was always about public services for people like me. I can speak for Hayden here. It was always about that, the destruction of them, the collapse of them under the weight of the insane open door to Europe immigration policy. What I found interesting this week, John Kerry, the US Secretary of State, well, he's sure it can be reversed. Have a look at this.
Walked back.
There are a number of ways to reverse Brexit. I don't, as Secretary of State, want to throw them out today. I think that would be a mistake. But there are a number of ways.
So he keeps stum about what those ways of walking it back might be, but obviously this is not the first time that Washington has intervened in UK affairs during the campaign and afterwards. Back in April, you may remember that Obama himself urged the UK people to vote Remain ahead of the poll. He caught a lot of flack from the media and politicians here, and some say now that he did more harm than good to the Remain camp there.
Of course it'll be reversed, and they want to and plan to reverse it. We know this. We'll tell you all about Theresa May and what's been said this week shortly. David Cameron, 1 year, 5 years, all of that. Hayden and myself will get into it. Oh, Hayden, we love the alternative media, and people like in your own independent ways, people like you, David, obviously, and others, and I'm not connecting you with davidicke.com, but LiveLeak, davidicke.com, very big platforms. In your own way, you do an enormous amount to promote it. There's some fucktards in the independent media, isn't there? Apparently, this was all about, it was a massive psyop by the banking cartel who wanted us to vote leave.
Absolutely. What else could it be? What else could it be, boss? Every week we come back to the same thing. Every big event has to have a big cause. And it has to be concerted effort on behalf of the shadowy unknown to make us do a certain thing, because it's the easiest explanation, it's the laziest explanation in the world. Something happened here, new and older. Now, do you notice, I mean, it goes through, I was watching the alternative media about the Ataturk airport attack,
Right.
which was grotesque.
Terrible, yeah.
What was interesting...
Shocking that it didn't get much coverage on Sky News.
The false flag screamers didn't even come out. Now, if that had happened anywhere else, like in Paris, so many people lost their life. False flag.
Yeah,
I pointed out, surely
this
would be fertile for false flag, because that is the airport where apparently most of the foreign fighters come through to make their way to Syria.
That's right.
So why would ISIS attack the main route through to them? I gave them that on a platter.
Nobody was interested.
There, nobody bit. No, because they're too busy.
It is intellectually lazy.
Flapping.
It's also incredibly arrogant.
Yes.
Because some of these people are so dogmatic. They spent all the time in the world leading up to the referendum telling people it was going to be rigged. Hypocrite Alan, you did as well. Of course I did. But I'm not dogmatic and arrogant. I said, yeah, I think they'll probably fix it. But I don't then panic when the result is that they chose to leave and go, oh, well, I was right all along. It's a psyop. No, I'm like, well, I think they tried to affect it. I think they did everything they could, but they were worried because national media was talking about the public's concern that it was going to be rigged.
Yeah.
National media.
But not only that, I think a lot of people ignore, and again, it's that laziness, that the entire build-up over decades to this point of disconnecting from politics and politicians, feeling victimised because you might have a legitimate opinion about unfettered immigration.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And instantly racist.
Instantly.
So all that does is push people further to the right anyway.
Of course it does.
Because no one's listening to them.
No.
That's why we have crap like the BNP and the EDL, because no one listens to the reasonable, and therefore they are marginalised to the point of having to stand that bit closer to the unreasonable.
Spot on.
And this has been coming for years. The only thing that surprised me was I didn't think we were going to leave. I was very happy that we voted leave.
Yeah, but like me, you saw
but wasn't
that
it so
wouldn't go
tight
away.
all night that it was almost, you were sat there thinking, this is almost like a script. Up, back, forth. I had to go to sleep. It's too much. It's too much. I'm too old for that sort of excitement
old for that
these days. But it was incredibly close, wasn't it? You could almost think they polarised and split a nation down the middle.
That's
Who would have
right.
thought it?
And what you talked about, driving people towards the extreme far-right lunatic fringe, of course, again, that's always suited the powers that be, and that's all part of divide and conquer, and it's age-old. It's really good, that. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Article 50, just a little bit about it. I know you're tired of hearing it, but just to clear up what it is exactly. The Lisbon Treaty, Article 50 contained within, basically says that when a member state informs the European Union that it wants to leave the Union, that then triggers Article 50. From there on in, once that notice has been given, there is a 2-year, basically a period, not a period of grace, but a period of negotiation, where the leaving state negotiates with the other member states the terms of the exit and future trade deals and movement of people and all of that. That's what Article 50 is. Now, there's a lot of worry on the radio show this week. UKIP's immigration spokesman Stephen Wolfe was on the programme. Interesting guy. You're giggling away in the background. Interesting guy. Why are you giggling away in the background?
It's just UKIP's immigration spokesman.
Yeah,
That's like,
yeah.
you know, that's...
You can sum up the immigration policy in
That's
2
like
lines.
the Third Reich's Jewish outreach officer, isn't it? It just
We shouldn't have
make
any.
sense.
What is your immigration policy? We shouldn't have any. Very, very nice guy though, Stephen Wolfe. Barrister, former barrister. Very bright and very interesting, very thoughtful, I thought. And he spoke to me about his fears. Now, they're all for revoking and having an eventual repeal of the European Union, the European Communities Act of 1972. Didn't write this down, going on memory. That's what they want, because that would just blow everything out of the water anyway. They're absolutely terrified, not just UKIP, but everybody else, that there's no real desire to trigger Article 50. There's no real desire to leave the European Union. Cameron reneged, didn't he? First up, on the day the referendum was announced, it'll be, even though it's legally non-binding, it will be binding. I will enforce the will of the people, the decision of the people, and I will take immediate steps upon, in the event of British people choosing to leave, I will take the immediate steps to make sure that happens. What a monumental liar. Don't be naive, Alan. I'm not naive. We expect them to lie. I'm just saying he's a monumental liar. Right? No intentions of it. We'll leave it till the leadership election is over, till October. As we'll find out in a minute, as we're going to find out now, they're talking about the end of the year, and some of them are talking about 3, maybe 4 years to negotiate. Theresa May then, on Thursday, yesterday, announced her intention to seek the leadership of the Conservative Party, and of course, in effect, would be seeking the position of Prime Minister, because whoever wins will be the Prime Minister. In the announcement that she made to the media yesterday, she said there would be no second referendum, she said, but I wouldn't believe it, and she talked about Article 50.
The country voted to leave the European Union, and it is the duty of the government and Parliament to make sure we do just that. Second, there should be no general election until 2020. There should be a normal autumn statement held in the normal way at the normal time, and no emergency budget. And there should be no decision to invoke Article 50 until the British negotiating strategy is agreed and clear, which means Article 50 should not be invoked before the end of this year. Third, we should make clear that for the foreseeable future, there is absolutely no change in Britain's trading relationships with the EU or other markets. And until a new legal agreement is reached with the EU, which will not happen for some time, the legal status of British nationals living or working in Europe will not change, and neither will the status of EU nationals in Britain.
Some of her colleagues were on national radio yesterday. I hear a lot of national radio in the mornings, saying that it actually might take 5 years to negotiate the deal. Jeremy Hunt, the health secretary who everybody thought would run, but chose not to, was saying that he foresaw a second referendum at some stage in the near future as well. They are a pack of liars, and we'll talk more about that in a minute, because when we come back, we're going to talk about the runners and riders who are seeking the leadership of the Tory party. You're not going to believe your ears or your eyes when we come back after these.
Attention small business owner, when is a box more than just a box? No! Oh no, that's just weird. A box is more than just a box when it can give you a couple of extra hours in bed, or at the very least some time to do something more fun and or productive than bookkeeping. Just bang all your paperwork in a box and we'll take care of the rest. Accounts Direct. Accountants on your side.
Welcome back to the show. It's beyondvision.tv. Check out the website and davidicke.com/headlines. Just before we move on, check out the Lively television show every Thursday night at 9 p.m. British summertime. It is 9, no? 9:30 p.m. British summertime. Magnificent show, completely unique, nothing like it anywhere on television, anywhere in the world. Wonderful stuff. Hayden is doing a radio show which is getting a lot of interest every Sunday night at Fab Radio International, fabradiointernational.com. That is 9 p.m. That's a 9 p.m. start. Terrific show that on Fab Radio. Check it out. I'm live Monday to Thursday at 8 p.m. BST on a number of platforms. Go to richieallen.co.uk. There's the mug there. Show's doing well. Thanks for listening to it. And Sunday View, of course, every Sunday at 11 a.m. BST. Couple of things. Tomorrow, the old man himself, the old stager, he's like Kane from Kung Fu. Ike is off around the world. He's off to Australia, New Zealand. He's flying to Perth tomorrow. It's a wonderful, wonderful presentation over 10 hours. It's jaw-dropping. You know, some of it you'll agree with, some of it you might not agree with. Go and see it. It's absolutely brilliant. There's the website there, theworldwidewakeup.com. And Gareth Ike has got a brand new album out called 3. I've been playing songs off it on the radio show. I love it because it's my type of music. It really is terrific. He's at Dublin Castle in London tonight. He's at the Victoria in Derby Saturday, tomorrow. And Sunday, he's at Zombie Shack in Manchester. That's near Oxford Road. I'll be there. And so will the irrepressible Paul Ripley from Fab Radio, the godfather of radio in Manchester. Great guy. So go and see Gareth. Come and say hello to me if you're at that gig on Sunday. Good luck with that. Gaz, good stuff. Break a leg and all of that. So yesterday we got a glimpse of who will run for the leadership of the Tory party, the runners and riders. What a motley crew of people seeking the Prime Ministership. We'll know by September, we believe late October. Shall we start with Theresa May, shall we? There's no other way to say it. This woman is a criminal and as corrupt as any public official who has ever bestrode the halls of Whitehall. This is the woman who not once, Hayden Hewitt, but twice appointed a chairwoman or a chairman of the historic child sex abuse inquiry, those women having direct links and ties to people suspected of child abuse. Do you remember Fiona Woolf and Elizabeth Butler Sloss? Establishment up to the tits. both of them, connected to Leon Britton, Peter Morrison, and all the other paedophiles. No drama there. This is a serious criminal. If you did it or I did it, you'd be banged up. You would go to prison. Hayden, back me up. There is no exaggeration here. This is perverting the course of justice 101, right?
Yeah, she's got a dreadful track record.
Yeah.
Absolutely repulsive, including just countless examples of this kind of thing, trying to erode freedoms, trying to destroy rights, trying to take away privacy, trying to criminalise every last thing we did, because she's been a
police the internet, of course, my friend, as you've been talking about quite a bit on your own shows.
Oh yeah.
Police the internet. No drama, serious criminal. Moving on to Michael Gove. Hayden, this is a bit like the opening of Goodfellas. We used to go to the Copacabana. There was Fat Andy, Freddie No-Nos, Jimmy Two Times.
To be fair, more like a special ed version of
yeah,
Goodfellas,
special,
really.
yeah. Michael Gove, criminal. His crime, selling your children's education to the military-industrial complex through academisation. Again. Even the broadsheet newspapers have at times published articles to show who the companies are that would form academy chains. The military-industrial complex. Selling off your children to corporations. Doesn't get any more criminal than that. He's the Justice Secretary now, and he wants to sell all the prisons as well. We should definitely have more businesses going into prisons, he said. You could have businesses running prisons. What a bunch to pick from. What's wrong with that? Well, to quote a man who is, for me, one of the greatest living Irishmen, John Lonergan, who was the governor of Mountjoy Jail for 25 years, and one of the most humane, loving men I've ever had the pleasure of meeting in my life. Hayden, when John Lonergan retired, he would go on radio shows, and ex-cons would ring the radio shows to go, this man treated me like a human being in his prisons. You know what he said, Hayden, John Lonergan? The most serious decision a state can make is to deprive one of its members of his or her liberty. It's necessary at times, sadly. Why would you want to hand the care of those people over to corporations? There is no argument to be made for it, is there?
There is.
Go on.
Money! Lots and lots of lovely money.
Shall we tell our viewers, Hayden, about the the Correction Corporation of America, which was given license to run prisons all over as the Deep South, and they only took the licenses so long as the state guaranteed them 97% occupancy. Wonderful.
I wonder how that could work.
Mother of
just
Jesus,
thinking, wouldn't it be a very handy coincidence that there were just enough people to fill that?
There could be no corruption, could there?
No, how dare you, sir? How dare you, sir?
Michael Gove. Who's next on the hit list? Stephen Crabb. Do you want to take over here? You love this guy, don't you?
Do you know, I'm going to leave his picture up. This guy...
I'm going to have some water while you're talking about Stephen Crabb.
If anybody has any experience with me, I don't have a particularly high opinion of politicians in general. Stephen Crabb, that man there with that smug, self-satisfied grin on his face. No, not me, the guy that was up before. He disgusts me more than most. He came from a very working class background in Wales, so nobody's perfect, but a very working class background.
Good luck, Wales.
Didn't have a lot. Oh yeah, definitely good luck, Wales. Bang on, get in there. Didn't have a lot. Came from not much. Claims to be the working man. That's what he took over from Ian Duncan Smith. And continued the legacy of murderous barbarism that Ian Duncan Smith put in place. This is the same man that thinks if you're crippled to the point of being stuck in a chair with uncontrollable tremors, there's still a job you can do.
Still a job for you.
I'm going to imagine in a milkshake factory. I can't think of anything else.
Oh, they want people... Hayden, they want people who don't have the use of their bodies.
Yeah.
Like Stephen Hawking, who uses a machine to move them around to maybe act as a fucking doorstop. That's how insane these people are.
What does it
We'll
pay?
find a job for you.
What does it pay?
It's mental, man.
The whole thing's insane. And not only that, this is the same man. The man that might be entrusted to lead our country into a golden new future, who believes homosexuality is a disease which can be cured.
He's another of the Lord Monkton
club.
Now, I'm not having a cheap shot at Chris because he's not here to defend himself. We had a
I'll
battle,
do it if you want.
We had a battle royale on the radio show the other night. But Chris believes that gay men are likely to sleep with 20,000 other men in their lifetimes, and they have short, miserable lives. And
why are they so happy if I go through the gay village? I go through there to get to the radio show.
Nobody parties. Nobody parties like the LGBT.
They look like they're having a great time to me.
But you know what's interesting, Hayden? You've educated me today, because I did not know that Crab was of that conservative Christian, so that's new to me. But you're right, people with brain tumours, motor neuron disease, Parkinson's disease, and any number of other conditions, as you said there, can be fit to work.
An incurable brain tumour. Marvellous. You've got a few months left. What we'd like to do is make you spend a lot of it in the job centre, while we just make you absolutely fucking miserable, because it's not enough you die in pain.
And ask
we
you
want you to
questions
die
like, have you
poor.
ever well said. And ask you questions like, have you ever contemplated suicide? And when you say no, why not? That's not a joke. See my interviews with Professor Alex Scott Samuel, the Professor of Social Health at Liverpool University. People have been asked these questions. Unburden yourself or unburden us from you.
Yeah, we've already said that. I mean, if you strip away the NWO conspiracies, anything like that, if you look at a country as a corporation, which people say it is, if you look at it as a corporation, here's the deal. You are an ideal citizen if you are born healthy. You only have enough education to do the job that you need to do. You pay your taxes. You die when you can't work anymore. If we strip away everything else, that makes the ideal
That's the perfect
machine.
Life. Yeah.
The ideal machine.
So what you're describing, I'm not putting words in your mouth, these people are bona fide or bona fide, excuse me, however you want to pronounce it, Nazis.
Well, yeah, it's no point where I've never had any other
point,
opinion
because
than people like
what the Nazis were doing with people that they didn't think were worthy of life not worthy of life, was sticking them into a gas chamber and killing them, which is absolutely reprehensible, obviously, on every level. But what I'm saying is,
it's not drastically
it's not that
different.
much. No,
you know.
Holy
I
shit.
could rant about, as you know, I can rant.
We could rant on. And do you know what the media does, Hayden? The media humanises these people by making a soap opera out of it. Boris, the eccentric, wild-haired buffoon. Look at him. Theresa May in sexy kitten heels. She's the stoic one. Crab is the outsider, the unknown, dark and mysterious good-looking kid. And Gove is the J.R. Ewing of the piece. The media is a gatekeeper. It invests you in the drama, in the narrative that they are spinning about these sick, psychotic, reprehensible, non-human people, like what we've been describing there. That's what the media does. Malevolent, devoid of compassion, these people. No empathy, no sympathy. How could you sleep at night if you were condemning people? Sick people, people who need a wheelchair to get around, people who need help, people whose family have to work as carers for them. How can you be taking the oxygen away from these people and describe yourself as human? And that's the Tory party. Let's move on to Jeremy Corbyn. What happened to Jeremy Corbyn? What happened to Jeremy Corbyn? The man who spent decades on the back benches, railing against injustice, railing against social injustice, condemning the crimes of the Israeli government, but also, to his credit at times, in the clips they don't want you to see, condemning violence no matter where it's coming from, whether it's Hamas, whether it's Al-Qaeda, whether it's whoever. What happened to this guy? How has Jeremy Corbyn been reduced to this? Look at this from Prime Minister's questions this week.
You asked about poverty. There are 300,000 fewer people in relative poverty since 2010. 500,000 fewer people in absolute poverty since 2010. Look, if he's looking for excuses about why the side he and I were on about the referendum, frankly, he should look somewhere else. And I have to say to the honourable gentleman, he talks about job insecurity and my 2 months to go. It might be in my party's interest for him to sit there. It's not in the national interest. And I would say, for heaven's sake, man, go.
Imagine being reduced to the point where an entity like David Cameron is screaming across the dispatch box at you to get out. Earlier in the week, when they made their Brexit statements, Cameron mocked him again as the shadow cabinet were deserting him in droves. And a woman had just won a by-election. and was taking her seat in the chamber for the first time, and Cameron said, keep your mobile phone on, you might be in the shadow cabinet at the end of the day. It's all a big laugh. What's happened to Jeremy Corbyn? It's been a dreadful week for the man. Shami Chakrabarti was asked to find out whether or not anti-Semitism and racism was endemic in the Labour Party. We might have the story, Hayden, have we? There we have. She was a good person to head up the inquiry, because Chakrabarti is one of these people. I've never liked her. Everything is racist, according to Shami Chakrabarti. I don't know if you've ever seen her on Question Time with Dimbleby over the years. Everything is racist, everything is anti-Semitic. She's one of the thought police, this woman. So she was a good woman to look into it. Good person to look into it. Anyway, I'll tell you briefly what's in the report. She found no evidence that the party was overrun by anti-Semitism. There were some toxic ideas at times, some silly things said, but no more or no less than what you'd expect anywhere else. God love Jeremy Corbyn. He can't win, can he? Now, why is that bad news for Jeremy Corbyn? You'd have thought, well, that's pretty good, that. In a week of turmoil and, et tu, brute type moments, Julius Caesar and all of that. Good news, yeah? Well, no, not really. Because back in April, when people were being called racist, like Naz Shah, for having opinions that were a bit childish. If the Americans love Israel so much, why don't they supplant the country, stick it somewhere in the Midwest in the United States? Nothing racist about that, I'm afraid. Nothing racist about Ken Livingstone. But Jeremy Corbyn didn't support them. Nor did he say, and we're going to get into this again in a minute, is that there are legitimate criticisms of the Israeli government, as there are legitimate criticisms of any government. Nobody should be frightened of explaining or expressing those criticisms. Nobody should be worried about being called racist. We'll get to that in a minute. So it's been a bad week. So not only was the report coming out not good for Jeremy Corbyn, but the actual event didn't go that well for him either. He can't win. He can't win. He's getting hammered for everything. Listen to what he says here about Israel and ISIS. Or does he really? Have a look.
Nor should anyone indulge in the kind of stereotyping that can cause such hurt and harm. To assume that a Jewish friend or fellow member is wealthy, part of some kind of financial or media conspiracy, or takes a particular position on politics in general, or on Israel and on Palestine in particular, is just wrong. Our Jewish friends are no more responsible for the actions of Israel or the Netanyahu government than our Muslim friends are for those various self-styled Islamic states.
Have you got some pictures, Andy? Have you got some screen grabs? Jeremy is right there. The Jews are all wealthy and they own this and they own that is utter bollocks, and it is lazy. Sometimes it's hateful. It's just lazy bollocks. I'm not going to go into Zionist ideology and Jewish men and women and all that. Again, it's been done to death. He's right there, Corbyn. As for the hiding that he's been getting overnight from rabbis all over the country and all around the world, saying that it's absolutely despicable for him to compare. What he actually said was, and he never used the term ISIS at all, what he said was, it's ludicrous to accept or to expect Muslims to be responsible for the actions of the jihadists, as it's ludicrous to expect Jewish men and women to answer for the actions of the Netanyahu government. So, of course, the Israeli lobby in Britain jumped all over that and said that he was comparing Israel to ISIS. Do you know what? So what if he is? We've got a couple of screen grabs for you. Let's have a look at a couple of shots of Gaza after and during Operation Protective Edge a couple of years ago, when a couple of thousand people were killed, over 500 children. Got a couple of images there, Hayden, I think. Kind of before and after. Then we have Gaza as it is now. Just rubble, basically, empty shell. Now that one, yeah, that's Gaza now. The one that you were just going to put in there, you can put that up now, that's Fallujah. Right? That's what ISIS have done to Fallujah. And we might have an aftermath picture of that as well. Right? It's the same thing. Levelling a city because you want to go after some bad guys in there. Killing anybody and everybody who gets in the way. if Corbyn was making that comparison, and he might have been, or trying to be subtle about it, don't hammer him for it. I think it's a fair point. But you see, we're back to this, that he never defended his party against this when this kicked off in April. This is Corbyn on the Andrew Marr show Sunday in the middle of April, not defending those who are being accused of anti-Semitism.
Anti-Semitism is absolutely abhorrent and wrong. Anyone that commits any act of anti-Semitism, that makes any anti-Semitic remark, is auto-excluded from the party, and an inquiry follows immediately. We have suspended and we will suspend any member that behaves in that way. Inquiries are going on the cases that have been referred to us. Right. We're absolutely resolute on this. There is no place for any type of racism of any sort within our party, and I will ensure that it is rooted out where it exists. But I have to say, it is a very small number of cases over the whole country. I
was disgusted by that at the time. We hear that Jeremy won't stand aside, even though the entire parliamentary party, almost the entire parliamentary party, has said that his position is untenable and they won't work for him. Corbyn is stuck by this line that last year an enormous mandate was handed to me by Labour members all over the country. But I wonder tomorrow, would so many of those enfranchised people, so many of those engaged people who got out there because they wanted a different type of voice, somebody saying things that they liked, what would they feel tomorrow? I guess most of them wouldn't turn out. Can't say that. You've no evidence to back that up. No, I don't. I would say a large number of those people would not turn out to vote for him again, because he has been an absolute joke as opposition to the Conservative Party government. Every single opinion, every socialist opinion, every anti-war opinion, every anti-Israeli government opinion the man espoused over the years has been buried under a pile of whatever, and he's not done it. He's just not done it. Let's have a look at Corbyn from a few years ago, Hayden.
Jeremy Corbyn. Could the Prime Minister explain why the British government did not support the call made by the United Nations Commissioner for Human Rights for an investigation into war crimes in Gaza, and why Britain and the other European nations abstained on that vote, and the inquiry is of course now going ahead? And in the meantime, he's continued an armed relationship with Israel despite 2,000 people dying in Gaza. Does he not think it's time to suspend the arms deals with Israel because of the appalling loss of civilian life in Gaza, and the continued occupation of the West Bank, and the continued theft of Palestinian land by the Israeli occupying?
So what happened to Jeremy Corbyn? There's a phenomenon going on now within the media, within social media, where there's a lot of anger and a lot of hurt and a lot of rage, I think, amongst those who nailed their colours firmly to the mast of the Jeremy Corbyn socialist ship. And now that he's being criticised by people like me, who said all along from the word go that he's a nice man, and he said some nice things, and I agree with a lot of what he said previously, but I said he would never affect any change, and he would never say these things in the national spotlight, and he hasn't done that. So the rage is being directed now, of course, at people like us. Oh, you never supported him, that's the problem. Guys like us, and we have a duty to ask questions of these people, not to support them. Direct your anger at the man whom you swore allegiance to, based on your belief that he would stand in front of the national media and say the things that he used to say on the backbenches, but isn't doing it now. It's sad and it's terrible, but that's the way it is. Like it or lump it. Hayden, we're going to finish up today, my friend. You and I, we've got to give the last word to Nigel Farage, the leader of UKIP. That's a bit Nelson Munstad, isn't it?
Oh, but look at his little face.
Delighted with himself. You, of course, like me, don't support parties, don't support politicians. There'd be some of the things that some UKIP members have said over the years, unpalatable. We don't like it. So, unfortunately, in the early days, they did attract a bit of the old Alf Garnett, you know.
Of course, maybe they did. Look, they are what they are. There are always going to be Little England. There's no two ways around it. There are always going to be racists. They're always going to be there. And as much as we were just talking about this, well, the last clip was on as much as, UKIP are just a dreadful symptom of a dreadful problem in our country. And Nigel Farage, I got in a lot of trouble for saying the funniest thing he ever did was that plane crash.
Oh, yeah.
I really took some stick for that. And, so someone each year said, well, what if he died? Would it still be funny? I don't know. But, I have to give the guy credit. Okay, this is someone I disagree with almost fundamentally on many things. I don't like who he was, what he did, the system he came through. He has stuck to his guns religiously. He has not wavered once in his message for a long time. It's not always been a message of absolute hate.
No.
But he's never wavered. And
I got to know him, and I interviewed him a lot of times in Spain. I interviewed the man quite a lot.
Right.
I don't believe there is a xenophobic bone in his body. I really don't. I believe over the years they've had one or two problems. We've seen it. They've had to leave guys go. They've had to put guys out there. But him, it's always been about the federal superstate and the centralisation of power.
And he stood his guns, and he stood up in front of the EU on many occasions and delivered some fantastic speeches.
And we're going to finish with his kind of farewell address, and we're going to finish the programme on that. So, thanks to Aidan for his input today. I really appreciate that, as always. Thanks to BeyondVision.tv for putting up with me. DavidIke.com. Check out the Worldwide Wake Up Tour. If you're going to be in Australia, New Zealand, check out David. And I might see you on Sunday at the Zombie Shack for Gareth Ike. We'll see you next week. Closing out the programme with Nigel Farage. He gets the last word. Bye for now.
The reason you're so angry has been perfectly clear from all the angry exchanges this morning. You, as a political project, are in denial. You're in denial that your currency is failing. You're in denial. Well, just look at the Mediterranean. No. As a policy to impose poverty on Greece and the rest of the Mediterranean, you've done very well. And you're in denial over Mrs. Merkel's call last year for as many people as possible to cross the Mediterranean into the European Union has led to massive divisions between countries and within countries. But the biggest problem you've got, and the main reason the United Kingdom voted the way that it did, is you have, by stealth, by deception, without ever telling the truth to the British or the rest of the peoples of Europe, you have imposed upon them a political union. You've imposed upon them a political union. And when the people in 2005 in the Netherlands and France voted against that political union, when they rejected the Constitution, you simply ignored them and brought the Lisbon Treaty in through the back door.